Bruce Pants from Untitled Education Centre, and today's lecture we're going to be talking about language in The Great Gatsby. Not that kind of language, the more sophisticated language that we get in a novel of the status of The Great Gatsby. Language techniques in The Great Gatsby. I've already talked a little bit in characters and themes about some of the language techniques that they use, but I want to get back into very specific things today. Let's clear up the easy stuff first. Great Gatsby uses first-person narration, and I've already talked about Nick, and if you go back to the characters one and watch that, you'll hear me talk about how he's the narrator and what he does there. He's sort of passing on information, and the story starts when he comes and follows on in chronological order. In other words, it happens as time is filled. And anything about the past is either filled in by the narrator or through one of the characters through anecdotes. And while the novel discusses events that appeared over a period of a year, they've been taken place over a shorter time frame in many ways. The main characters all tend to use similar language as they are representing the same social class and are at the same social standard. While Gatsby's not from the same social standard, his language is similar because he has used their language to model his own. He says things like, "I thought you knew, old sport. I'm afraid I'm not a very good host." And so he has those affectations that they have. George and Myrtle Wilson do not use the same language. Their language is far more colloquial and they don't belong to the same social standard. An example of that would be, "Works pretty slow, don't he?" And in other words then, and Meyer Wolfsheim, for example, he has this massive accent and he says things like connection and Ogford instead of Oxford and connection. The use of language in Gatsby comes from that rich upper class. And the language in Gatsby comes from that upper class structure that Fitzgerald is trying to mimic in many ways. But also what he does is he drags in some very specific motifs throughout the novel. The green light's one of those motifs, and we read about that very early in the novel. It says, "Involuntarily I glanced seaward and distinguished nothing except a single green light, minute and far away." And then finally at the end of the novel, "As I sat there brooding on the old unknown world, I thought of Gatsby's wonder when he first picked out the green light at the end of Daisy's dock. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgiastic future." It's light that seems to drive Gatsby and it permeates the novel. It seems to symbolise the distant hope that he has. That's the future for those of Gatsby who dream like he does and hope like he does. Notice that it's minute and very far away, and it makes the dream seem even more distant. And some critics have suggested that the green light symbolises the American dream in many ways, not just the love Gatsby has for Daisy. Another symbol that is used in the novel are the eyes of T.J. Eckelberg that look out over the Valley of Ashes. And they say about that on page 26, "You perceive after a moment the eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg. The eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg are blue and gigantic. Their retinas are 1 yard high. These eyes see everything and they see nothing. They stare over the Valley of Ashes like an uncaring God looking out over a version of hell." People pass by those eyes and they're representative in many ways of the affair and God watching the affair that Tom has with Myrtle in many ways. The Valley of Ashes scenes represent poverty. East Egg represents old money, while West Egg is for the nouveau riche, and that goes back to setting. And we've talked a little bit about that in the other two lectures. It's a good place for Gatsby to live, as through the novel is an enigma in many ways, and the outside world has no place in his dreams. And of course, the egg is contrasted very nicely with the Valley of Ashes. It's a wasteland full of wasted lives. We've already talked about the role of the narrator, and Nick Carraway has his own journey. I've discussed that pretty carefully when I talked about Nick as a character, so I'm not going to go back into it now. Fitzgerald uses dialogue to show characterisation in many ways, and I'll just give you a couple of examples and you can find some quotes for yourselves. Tom Buchanan is arrogant and patronising. Gatsby's British affectations. Daisy's voice is full of money, while Nick thinks she's indiscreet. George Wilson seems defeated in his speech and manner as being overly obsequious with Tom. Myrtle changes her tone and manner from the garage to the way she conducts herself at the apartment. And I think everybody's reaching for something in those things. And in Myrtle's case, when she's at the apartment, her laughter, her gestures, her assertions become more violently affected moment by moment. And as she expanded, the room grew smaller around her. And so they're just a couple of things. The green light is a good symbol. The eyes are a good symbol. And we need to think about those and link those into the American dream and some of the other aspects of the novel. I think that's a pretty good general overview of the language. Of course, there's more detail on language and detail on those symbols in the notes you can download from our website. Feel free to go there, enjoy. And that's all we'll talk about today. That's the lecture on language. And thanks for watching. Goodbye. We'll catch you next time. Hi, I'm Bruce Patterson from Untitled Education Centre, and I hope you're really enjoying this series on The Great Gatsby. Don't forget, for further information, have a look at our website. You'll find some wonderful things, and you'll have as much a good time as we are. Cheers to you.